So I recently received a new camera, a Nikon D5500, which is a digital SLR. It's small, it's great to learn how to take pictures, and it's pretty high tech. But it comes in, the kit that I received came with one lens. It was one zoom lens, an 18 to 55 millimeter zoom. So I wanted to get a couple of other lenses to really learn how to take pictures, really learn how to compose pictures and learn how to work the camera and whatnot. So a lot of what I've read, the best place to start is what's known as a prime lens. Now a prime lens, they don't focus, yes, they don't zoom at all. So it's like a 35 millimeter lens or a 50 millimeter lens or an 85 millimeter lens or a 400 millimeter lens. It's not like 18 to 55 millimeters. And the prime lens is for the Nikon 4-digit series, like the D3000 series or the D5000 series or the D7000 series, would be considered crop sensor series of cameras. So because the sensor is smaller than the full frame sensor, you would have to multiply any millimeter lens by a crop factor. And for Nikon, it's 1.5. So what I've read is the best prime lens to use for a full frame camera would be about a 50 millimeter lens. That should reproduce what your eyes see. So for the crop sensor, the best lens to use would be a 35 millimeter, because if you multiply 35 millimeters times 1.5, you kind of get somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 millimeters. So when I was doing some research on the prime lens, I came across a package deal that Nikon has. So I just wanted to show you what was there, unbox it for you, and kind of show you what it is and why I think it's a great deal. So this package has two lenses. It has the 35 millimeter prime lens, which Nikon is kind of selling it as a portrait lens. And the reason that you want to get, say, the 35 millimeter prime over, let's say, your 18 to 55 millimeter and just set it to 35 is because the aperture, the prime lens has an aperture of 1.8, whereas the zoom lens has a much higher aperture. And granted, I'm just learning about a lot of this, but the higher aperture allows you to get more depth of field. So if you're taking say a portrait of somebody, you could get more of that where that person's like crystal clear, but the background is getting blurred. They call that bokeh. So things like that will help you, allow you to achieve those effects if you'd like. Then in this package, what also came was another prime lens called an 85 millimeter macro lens. And this package, it was $495 or something like that on Amazon. Now the macro lens alone was like $530 if you're gonna buy this. And then the 35 millimeter prime lens is like $200 if you're gonna buy it new. So it's almost like getting the prime lens, the 35 millimeter prime lens, for free. I also bought it from Amazon, and they gave me a choice of, do you want the lens, the two lens package, or do you want the two lens package with this filter? So there's this, I don't know, black and white filter. It's about 20 bucks. And it was the exact same price. So it's kind of like, do you want this or not? So I'm not exactly sure if I'm going to use it or not, a UV haze filter, but now I have it. So that's pretty good. So it's still at that same, it's like $496 or something for the two lenses and this filter. So I figured let's just open up the lens and I'll show you what comes in here. And I think it's, for like the beginning photographer, I think it's perfect for what I was, wanting to start with. So here we have the two lenses, and let's just open this box. So the box comes. Now they give you some free video online training if you want. It says a $49.99 value, so you have to go and register, and then you get that. And then there's two books. So here's a book about portrait photography, and here's a book about macro photography. Now macro photography is, did you ever see those pictures where people take of, say, like bugs really close up? I mean, where you really zoom in on a bug and get every little level of detail. That's what the macro photography really focuses on. And then portraits is just obviously portraits. So you get those two books, and then really it just comes with the two lenses. So So here in their own separate boxes is the 85mm lens, and then here's the 35mm lens. So if you look on the box, so like that would be something like a a macro photography, where you're literally zooming in on a flower or a bug or something like that. And then on the 35mm, it's more like what you see. So if you want to zoom in, you have to walk closer. If you want to zoom out, you have to like get further back. So this should reproduce pretty much what you see, your field of vision. And so it kind of helps you to kind of compose, you know, good photographs and things like that. Okay, so let's just take a quick peek here. We have the Nikon 35mm prime lens. Okay, so we have a lens cap here, and a little bag that we can put the lens in our case, keep it protected. That's good. Oops. And let's see. Okay. Here's the 35mm lens. So we have the front of the lens. Then the back of the lens. You put this in your camera, then you could use that on the back of whatever lens is off your camera. Okay, so that's the 35mm. Let's see what else comes in this box. And there's actually a book on the lens. So that's cool, and I guess something to register that lens. So let's see the 85mm. I'm guessing it's going to probably be the same thing except for the 85mm. So we have this box in here, which should be, I'm guessing, the same thing that came with the 35. Okay, so we have a lens cap that goes on that, and another cover that goes on the lens. There's no sense in opening that up because we just saw what that looks like from the 35mm. And then take out and see the 85mm macro lens. The good thing about these lenses also is they're AFS, which means that there's the autofocus motor in the lens, because on the 3000 series and the 5000 series, there's not an autofocus motor in the camera body. The 7000 may have that. My old camera was a D70, which did have that, but this one doesn't have it, so you have to get the, if you want it to autofocus, you need to get the AFS, which both of these are. So here's the 85mm lens. See, there's no zoom, you just focus, really. It's pretty neat. And let's see, what else is probably the same thing. Yep. So here we have the registration card and another book. So it's a pretty, I guess it's all different languages. I was going to say it's a pretty thick book for just the lens, but yeah. Japanese, English, and then, you know, German, French, Spanish. So yeah, it's a bunch of different languages. So that's that. I mean, I think if you were just starting out in digital photography and you just pick up like a camera, either just a camera body, or if you're going to buy a camera body, and let's just say you don't want the zoom, or you just came with, you know, the body with the zoom lens, and you wanted to practice with prime lenses or the macro lenses, which that could be pretty interesting photos. I think this is a nice kit to get. So I'll throw a link in the description so you can see exactly what I'm talking about with that free filter. I mean, they think they said it's like $21 for the filter or something like that. So, what I mean, it's the same price, so I don't see why you wouldn't get it if you were going to pick up this kit. But anyway, as I maybe take some pictures, I'll show you what they look like. But let me start practicing with this. All right, any questions or comments? Throw it in the comments. I'll talk to you later. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.